In this video, I want to show you how you can build a mobile application using Base44 that you can ship to the Apple and Google Play Store. So it's really cool. Let's take a look at this. And we're also going to be able to access real native functionalities like push notifications, in-app purchases, Face ID, native contact access, really everything you want. Let's take a look at this here. So I'm right now in Base44 and let's start using Gemini 3 Pro because that's right now the best model when it comes to UI, because UI is important when we're building a mobile application. We want a mobile interface for that. Let's take a look at this here. Let's say following. I want to create a simple mobile app with a mobile first UI as a PWA. Make it look like Apple/iOS style, right? That's a good prompt. That's nice. We can also attach images if we want, but let's send this here. So now Base44 is starting to generate this application. It's going to create all the layout, and it's going to use a beautiful model that will create beautiful interfaces. Now, with Base44 here, there is a couple of things that we can configure here. So let's go on here, and we have a couple of settings. App overview, where we can take a look at the app overview. We have users, we can take a look at the users, and app settings. I don't think we can access them yet because it first needs to create a project. So let's take a look at this. I'll create a live sync. I'll start creating the structure. Okay, it's still creating. So we'll just wait till this is done. This may take a little bit. So we'll make a cut and we'll take a look at how this looks once it's done. So now, as you can see, we need to continue with this because it's already loading with the files here. Now, we want to have some native functionalities in here. We don't just want this to be a web application with limited functionalities, right? And now, as you can see, it set up everything so our application is ready. But we need to have native functionalities. So we need to go in here in the lower left corner here in this chat area and go to AI controls after we clicked on the little setting icon. And then we have custom instructions. Very important, because we need to get Base44 to do something that it normally does not do. And here's the thing, Base44, as of right now, cannot import NPM packages. But if it's a simple NPM package like Despia, I want to show you how you can get that in there to get the native functionalities going. Now, this is a hack. It's not something I would call remotely to be a solution, but it's a hack and it should work. So if we now go to npm.despia.com, which is where you can get the Despia documentation, go on the master prompt here, and you will find this master prompt, right? And how to use it. You can copy this master prompt and you can go into Base44 and paste it inside of here. Okay. Now there are a couple of things that we need to do with this master prompt. Also, why is it clearing the master prompt? It shouldn't clear the Oh, look at this. Okay. Let's hope that no, it clears the master prompt always. Okay. So how about we just open the Notes app and create the master prompt there and then hopefully get it in here. Maybe it's because it's editing the file. So now Base44 completed the application build. So now I think we should be able to paste the master prompt inside of here. Perfect. So now here's an important thing that we need to consider. We need to rebuild this because it can't do NPM. So we need to adjust this prompt. But for now, let's see what happens if I would just save this. Let's do an experiment. I like experiments. Let's take a look at the preview. The application looks stunning. And let's ask it, add native push using Despia, right? And now I'm going to go into the Despia documentation and let's look at local push, for example. So let's take a look at local push. And now we get the prompt, right? And we can just copy the prompt here. And now we will get an error from Base44 because it does not want to install NPM packages. And that's a critical issue with it. So let's take a look at this. And I just want to show you what's going wrong here. Now, they might have added support for this overnight and I get blown away by it. And then I'll think it's the best tool ever. but until they have added NPM support, I think it's a critical issue. So it says I cannot install the Despia package, the Despia native package, or any other external libraries. I'm restricted to a specific set of pre-installed packages. This is a big problem because this means you're not able to get Despia in your application. Or at least that's what they want you to believe, but it's not true. Because Despia is so lightweight, so simple, and so easy to use that you can just copy the code from the package and put it into your project. Let me show you. So there's a little hack here. You can go to JSDelivr, and this works with other packages. This is not just for Despia. Because here's the thing, when you npm install a package, you're downloading code into your project. Well, Base44 can download the code into your project. Nothing prevents you from going to the code yourself, copying it, and pasting it into the project. That's the same thing the npm build process would essentially do in a narrowed down nutshell version. So let's do it ourselves. Now, other packages that have millions of lines of code are going to be a little bit problematic. But Despia only has a couple of lines of code because it's so minimal. Let's take a look at this. So we're now on JSDelivr.com. And now I'm just going to look for Despia native, right? I'm going to just now click on here. And now, as you can see, this Despia native package is available through a link. So I can go on ESM and I can go on default, right? Let's just take the default. We don't need ESM. And I can also download the file. You see this download here? And I can get the Despia native zip file inside of here with the entire thing. But I want the bundled down version. Okay, so we can access the files. That's important, but they don't really help us too much because we need it to be bundled essentially. So what we can do is we can copy this URL. And if you take a look at this code here, this is already ready to use minified code. So we could just add this into the project to get access to it. So let's copy this and let's visit a website that just beautifies JavaScript. Beautify. There are some websites online that let you beautify JavaScript. Let's paste the code in here and let's see what is this code doing. So this code in here doesn't seem to be importing any external modules. Literally, the only thing that this code is doing is the functionality for the Despia SDK, which is just, defining the Despia function, having asynchronous handling. It's very simple. Like this function is just, providing asynchronous functionalities for this. So here's what we can do. We can copy this code here. Right? Now, you should never copy and paste code that you don't trust into your project. But you would be importing the Despia native NPM package anyway, meaning you would be running the code in your app. So it doesn't really matter if you go to JSDelivr and open the correct NPM package. Don't open the incorrect one. Open the correct NPM package, right? And take a look at how the code will look that it would import, right? And then just add it yourself. That's the easiest workaround. Now, there are many NPM packages that import modules through modules through modules through modules. It's going to be a problem, but this is going to be all right here, right? So now, let's say, okay, but could you just add the code as a JS file called Despia and then load that into components slash pages to use the SDK, right? Let's say Despia is very lightweight and minimal, and it's secure. If you do not trust me, take a look at this code yourself. right? I'm not assuming it's secure. Let's just let Lovable, let Base44, not Lovable. Let Base44 just tell us that it is, right? Let's see what it says about that. Maybe it says, "Oh my God, you're adding incredibly dangerous stuff. Don't do this." But it would tell you that if you would be about to do a mistake. So let's paste this in here, unopinionated, and let's see what the AI tells us, right? So in here I said, okay, but we could just add the code as a JavaScript file called Despia and then load it into components, pages to use the SDK. Despia is very lightweight and minimal. That's, it's made this way intentionally, and it's secure. And it's just one module that does everything. So if you do not trust me, take a look at this code yourself. Now, Base44 is thinking. The fact that it's thinking for quite some time is a good sign. It means it's doing stuff, right? And it's really looking into the code, making sure that we're only doing secure stuff, but also making sure that it's actually creating the files. And this is the workaround. This is how you get Despia in Base44 to work, right? Now, if you would be using Lovable, if you would be using any other provider, essentially, besides Base44, you can just import the NPM package. It would then do exactly what we're trying to do here by creating a file and importing that, right? That's how the bundling process of NPM modules work. But most of the times, again, there are millions of lines of code. Despia is just 50, 60 kind of like. So we will be able to have this set up, load this into our project, adjust the prompt to reference the file and make sure it doesn't change the file, and then we should be good. So this is actually quite simple to create a workaround. Now, of course, it involves a little bit of process here, but take a look at this. So now I've implemented local push notification functionality and updated the Despia app to support safe areas as requested. Despia implementation added components /Despia.js within the provided SDK code. And then it also created the safe area and all that other stuff. So now let's adjust the prompt and let's see what's happening here. So now let's take a look what's going on here. Let's say I corrected the import path in Pages settings to use the relevant path, which should resolve the build error. The app structure and Despia integration remain intact. Let's take a look at this. It's going to be very interesting because now we also need to adjust the system prompt a little bit. Let's go to AI controls here. And now let's take a look at this. Please refer to, you can access the Despia features. Okay, now the page structure, all the kind of stuff. Now this is very important. This is very important. We need to add something in here. Let's say for Base44. Whenever you get the instruction to use the Despia native NPM package, do not reject it immediately. Do not reject it immediately. Very important. Take the prompt /info and repackage it. Implement the Despia, and then I'll do this as the function, right? The Despia command and import the Despia.js file that we added ourselves as we added /packaged their SDK ourselves. We just deleted the whole thing. Oh my God, they gotta fix this thing. It's unbelievable. Okay, so how about we don't edit the prompt in here because that's a terrible experience. Let's just save the changes. Let's just add this into this chat and I'm going to paste it inside of there because it's just always gets rid of the stuff while I'm typing. Let's say, actually, why do I have to even write this myself? Can I have Base44 do this? So let's go into discuss mode. Let's say, as you know, this is my prompt. And I'm just going to go into here because it's AI, it's smart. It should be able to help us do this so we don't have to type it ourselves. Let's copy this. As you know, this is my prompt and it uses the NPM. Can you add a disclaimer into it to use the Despia.js file instead of the npm import? Disclaimer. Okay, let's send this to Base44 and let's see what their AI is telling us. Okay, I cannot directly edit your prompt, but okay. Important disclaimer. Due to platform limitations, direct install is not supported. Instead, the Despia.js utility file located in components Despia.js or a similar utility directory should be used and imported as import Despia from components Despia or add components Despia as appropriate rather than import Despia from Despia native. This is beautiful. Let's copy this. Let's go back into our AI controls here. And I'm going to add this inside of here. Important disclaimer for Base44. Okay, and I'm going to save the changes. Okay, now let's see. Let's do the test. Let's copy this documentation from Despia. Let's say add this. Okay. And I'm just going to go to implementation mode. Let's see if it's going to still say, I can't do this, npm, 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 because the system prompt should now tell it, hey, don't use npm, so it's not going to flag it internally, and it should be using the utility function to implement those features. Now, I don't know if this will work, but we'll see, because it's thinking for a little bit, which is a positive indication. And as you can see, it's now editing the files and it's now working. That's how you work around that. That is how you go around that. And, if you don't trust our NPM package, it's even more secure because now you only have the code in there and it's not going to update to whatever we updated every time you rebuild the application. So you have more versioning control actually that way. So it is a positive thing, even though, developers do appreciate NPM packages and the flexibility they bring. It does work. We do have a solution for that. Is it the cleanest? No. Would developers say, wow, this is the best solution ever? No, absolutely not. But it does work, it is secure, and it gets the job done, and now you can build mobile applications. So let's take a look at the code that it generated here. So let's see. As you can see, instead of loading Despia from Despia native through the npm package, we are now loading Despia from components Despia, as you can see, from the file. Okay, this should work. I'm not sure if this will work. Let's see if this import statement is correct here. And then it is going to do a reminder, link to app root, and then it's going to run the Despia function, which seems to be fully correctly implemented. Let's say, is this import correct? Because it just implemented this. I didn't read too much of the code as you saw in this video. I just want to make sure that what we're importing is actually correct before I'm going to push this and test this. But I do have a good feeling. Yes, import from Despia is correct, given that Despia file is located in the components directory. Okay, perfect. That's just how it imports it. So now it's using Despia correctly. So let's say, what Despia features can you add? Give me a full list and the commands that you would use for each. Okay, let's implement that. Let's see. So now, as you can see, it's fetching the Despia documentation. And it's scraping the documentation that we provide, and it's giving the implementation. Now, half of it is made up, as far as I can see here. So now, Get Platform does not exist at all. It's not actually visiting the pages to scrape it. It's just taking the sitemap and making stuff up. So this is critical. So maybe don't rely on Base44 finding the correct documentation for you. Let's see. Are you sure it's correct? Are you sure it's correct? Are you not supposed to go to the links and get the data from there and not make stuff up? Let's confront the AI with its problem, because it did made up a bunch of garbage. There is no such thing. They do exist. It's just that they are not called this way. My process was, that's a flawed process. That's a flawed process. You should open each page in the sitemap and scrape it to get the correct docs, right? Because it just made them up. It says, oh, the path of the documentation is this, so the method must be this, which is not true. You are correct. I will now go. So now this is how it should look if it's setting things up correctly. It's now visiting all the pages in the sitemap, scraping the information from Despia correctly, and then implementing stuff correctly with your, how it should actually be. So let's see. Yes, now it's correct. So now this is apparently how Base44 has to work for this to be set up correctly. So now let's ask it following. Add a node to my prompt so you always do this. So you always do this when I need a native feature, right? When I need a native feature. Fantastic. Let's send this to Base44 and let's see what it is, doing with this. Now, understood. I have noted your instructions regarding Despia. Okay, let's say, give me a text I can add to the system prompt for this, please. Okay, I wanted to give me some text so I can add it to the system prompt to add new context. Okay. Perfect. Additional disclaimer for Base44. Here's a concise text that you can add. Despia native features. Always refer to the sitemap. Find, scrape, and implement native features. I need it more precise, like I mentioned it before, where to scrape everything. This is how we want it, so it always, finds the correct stuff. Let's send it to Base44. Now, it takes a little bit to set up the environment, so it's easier for you later down the road. When asked to implement Despia native features, consult the sitemap and then fetch, scrape, page for, exact the commands and usage description. Perfect. Let's go to AI controls. And then I'm going to go in here. You can access the sitemap. Okay, and then I'm going to say important. Okay, and then I'm going to paste this one. When asked to implement Despia native features, always consult. Perfect. Let's save changes. Okay, now I'm going to ask it, what features does Despia support? Right? I'm going to ask it, what features does Despia support? So now it should be able to get the information correctly from it. And as you can see, you're getting the information here. So as you can see, we got the chat history here. Perfect. Okay, let's say look them up again. Okay, I wanted to have it look them up again. Now, if it does it correctly, it should go to the sitemap and scrape the features again. We may not see it in this step because it did switch to the agent mode and not to discuss mode. Look them up again, but because it takes a little bit, I would assume it is looking them up again. Yeah, now as you can see, it looks them up again, which is what we want. Okay, and then let's say add, which one do we want to add? Local push, full screen safe area, biometric verification. Okay, let's say add a nice little BioAuth demo page with native features. Okay, add a nice little BioAuth page using native features using Despia. Okay, always specify using Despia. It's just better so it, references it back from the system prompt to understand how everything is going here. So now what it should do is it should reference again back to the sitemap. It should scrape the correct page and it should not make up stuff. Yes, this looks good. Now it looks at this in Markdown. So we really trained Base44 now to do this correctly. So we don't always have to manually go in there, though we should always double check everything that it implements. And I want to show you how you make sure that it implements it correctly. This is a nice setup that makes it so convenient for us. So now we're implementing biometric verification. We should now always double check and go to the biometric verification page here on npm.despia.com. And we should double check the commands that it called. So this is here. Those are the ones with : // those deep link commands that trigger native functionalities, right? So when I go to Base44 here, it's editing the pages and all that kind of stuff. And we should then see how it calls them, right? So let's try this out here. Let's see, it's still editing the file. So this may take a little bit. But we're already in the code view where we can see the code that this tool is generating for us. So let's just wait a little bit. It seems to do lots of edits here, and it's thinking a lot about all the stuff that it needs to do, which is a very nice experience. Then we can also go to the preview and we can see what's happening here. And it does look really beautiful, I have to say. It's reloading one more time. Look at this, authenticate. Wow. They really fixed their UI. They really made it look stunning. Really made it look stunning. Fantastic. Look at this. It's still editing. So this Google thing that's going on here, really nice. Really nice. And I got my application here. Okay, added biometric auth. Let's say add a link in the menu to reach it, right? Add a link in the menu to reach it. That's important because right now I can't go to biometric auth. So we should have a link in here somewhere to add it because I don't see a way to add it. But those animations, really beautiful, like how it just jumps up. Isn't that nice? Look at this. Wow. Okay, so now it should be editing this. Also, I want to take a look at this page now. It seems to be on the settings page, actually. No, it's on the BioAuth demo page. We'll see. Okay, I added a BioAuth thing. So it did add the link. So we are now on the page. Let's go to the BioAuth demo page. Let's try opening that page. Are we on here? Interesting. It's a little bit slow here. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they got some memory leaks on their application. So, as you can see, I got my computer situation figured out, and let's take a look at this. So, how does Despia need us to implement this? What I like to do before I trust AI with any implementation, I like to double check. And it's rather simple to make sure that implementations are correct. So as you can see, in this documentation here, there are functions being defined. You need to really double check much, but just copy the name of some of the functions that seem to be novel to you, and then you do Command F, and you will just look for this. Does it exist here? If it exists in here, it's very likely going to be implemented correctly. The next thing that I like to check is the command, so the thing that is running in this function that's named Despia. Just copy this function that seems to be important, do another Command F, look for it. Are you calling it somewhere? Yeah, we're calling it here, so the implementation is likely to be correct. Just do this for every feature that it implements. Occasionally, this should do the thing. And also, I'm looking at it already here. It seems to already have implemented the safe area correctly, which is a great bonus here. So we now have a nice native feature implemented with a BioAuth example. So let's see what's going on here. Let's publish this. We can also get a domain, but we don't really need this right now for testing purposes. So let's publish the application. And that was fast. Wow. Okay, so now we have our Base44 application going on here. Take a look at this. Now we do have login. Things that I want to mention when you do login with Google, there are certain things that you need to make sure that are being set up correctly. For example, login with Google has to open with window_blank. So let's do one thing. Can we make sure that login with Google opens using _blank in a new tab? There's just certain things that you need to consider when you're using Despia with Base44. There may be, we may not be able to edit that because they kind of like host and style the login screen for us. Then we may need to disable login with Google because if we implement OAuth in mobile applications, we need to implement it in a specific pattern. If we cannot meet the pattern, we're going to have some problems with that, because then it's not going to be working correctly. Because it needs to open it with _blank, because that will open the in-app tab, and you need to open all login with Google, login with Microsoft, login with Facebook, login with whatever in an in-app tab, at least on an Android, on an iPhone device. Otherwise, you're not meeting the SOAR guideline. So let's see if Lovable can do that for us. So it seems like it cannot edit that because of the abstraction that they're adding, so we probably need to leave out login with Google. Again, there are limitations in using a tool that's highly abstracted, such as Base44. Just something that you should note. Maybe there are things that we can do on the Despia side to fix this, but, that's just something that you probably need to consider for now. It will probably not be able to edit the login screen because of that they have their own login system, and that is a terrible thing, in my opinion, as a developer, because it's going to remove all the ability for you to customize stuff. So just want to be upfront with you about some limitations in doing this. If you would be using Lovable, also I mentioned Lovable, it's Base44. Apologize for that. But if you would be using Lovable, it would be working. If you would be using Bolt, you can customize it. If you would be using Hercules, you can customize it. If you would be using anything else besides Base44, you would be able to customize it. Most likely. With Base44, there are certain things that you can touch in the code. That is a problem for some custom implementations. Now, there are workarounds. I think we can work on this, and we can probably solve this from the Despia side, just routing all accounts.google.com requests to be in the in-app tab. Actually, I should put this on our roadmap and just put this on ClickUp. I'll do this after the video. I think there's probably something that we can fix. If there's something that we can fix, you will see a video on this YouTube channel, login with Google and Base44 and Despia. If there's not a way how we can fix it right now, you won't see the video. So if there's a video on this YouTube channel showing you how to do this within the next couple of days, it's possible. If not, you probably have to disable login with Google. So now, as an abundance of caution, let's just figure out a way how we can disable this for login. So it's probably under users here, right? And let's take a look at that. Users, add roles, invite users, maybe under settings, app settings, authentication, use the default, use a custom Google OAuth console. Maybe we can customize the settings in how it opens it if we are on a paid plan or on a pro plan or an elite plan, but that's fine. Let's just publish this as is and then just call it a day. And we're going to just get this deployed. Let's publish that again. Fantastic. So now we got the application, we got a basic login. We don't have social login because I don't think it's possible right now, or maybe there's something that we need to fix. So let's copy the link here, the domain with HTTPS. And now we can go into Despia. And in Despia, under Dynamic App Source, under App Start URL, we can just paste this inside of here, just like this, and then we can go on Publish App. I'm only going to do an iOS app today, not an Android one, because it's just to show that it's possible and how to do it if you really want to use Base44 let's publish the project here. And now we have the Base44 link inside of here. And now we can get this deployed. Now, again, my personal opinion as a developer myself, I would not suggest using Base44 because it is way too limited, in my opinion, with non-existing NPM support. You can't fully customize the login page, or maybe, as far as it seems, you need to be on a paid plan or a higher paid plan to do so. You deserve some of that flexibility when you're building applications, especially when you're trying to scale. I think this Base44 thing is probably only going to work well for internal tools or apps that would be only used by a handful of users, or for MVPs. But I would not build the backbone of a business on top of a Base44 app. And as the CEO of Despia, I'm probably going to lose a lot of customers, a lot of revenue from being honest with you about this, but I would not want people signing up for Base44 and then signing up for Despia and paying for it and being disappointed in it. So I want to make an honest video to show you what's possible, what's not possible. And then if you say, okay, I want to build this just for the MVP for version 1, I'm going to use Despia, that's fine. And if you say, okay, I thought I could do more with Despia and Base44 and it would be simpler to implement, I apologize that it's not simpler. And then, you don't have to purchase Despia. You're more than welcome to try other things. But as far as I can tell you, from working with this technology, web native, and being, kind of like trained in how those applications work and having an understanding in how they work, everybody who's telling you that building a web native application with their tool and Base44 and turning your Base44 application into a mobile app is so simple, is probably just trying to sell you their product without being too honest with you. Now, I don't want to say that there are certain companies that are not honest with you. I think they have good intents in helping you, but I think they're oversimplifying the process. I don't want to oversimplify the process. I want to be upfront with you, and then you can make the decision if that's something that you want to do or if it's something that you don't want to do. But regardless on if you want to do it right now, or if you want to go with another tool later on, or if you just want to skip it for now and do a PWA, Despia is always here to help you if you use Base44 or if you are not using Base44. But I would highly encourage you to reconsider Base44 once your application grows, once your user base extends, once you are ready to go to the next level, or maybe if you already say, I want to build this application without limitations, you probably should look into Lovable or Replit or other solutions out there, and then Despia will be able to help you with that because it supports everything JavaScript. But just a big disclaimer, big, long, complicated technical disclaimer. I don't think Base44 should be used for production applications. Again, my personal opinion, probably going to cost us some business, but I'll rather tell you what I feel is right to make sure that you get the information than to make, another sale on Despia, because I want to make sure that you have honest information available when you make such decisions. So now while the application is building, we're going to make a little cut and we'll take a look at this once it's done. So as you can see, I got an email from Apple that it's ready to be tested as a native app on test flight. Let's open this here. And this is now essentially already on the App Store as a draft. And then there are just, I can just click a box, check the build, and then submit it to app review. Let's install the application. Now, when you submit it to app review, it should have meaningful native functionalities. This can be push notifications. This can be, Face ID if it makes sense for your application. This can really be any of them inside of the list here. Revenue cat, paywalls, AdMob rewarded ads, haptic feedback, contact access, Siri shortcuts. There are so many native features that you can add. Many more coming every month. So you shouldn't be running out of features that you can add. Let's open the application, and now this will open the Base44 application. Let's allow once here. Allow. There you go. And as you can see, the Base44 application is loading. We can log in, and we can also sign up. We got this nice thing going on here. It fully works with the login and storage and sessions. It automatically inherits that. So let's do hey@despia.com, password hello, 1, 2, 3, $, $. Let's do this again. Hello, 1, 2, 3, dollar sign, dollar sign, dollar sign. Let's create an account, and now they do send emails. That is a lot of a process for downloading an application here. This is why I prefer other tools that let me customize this, because this is a terrible user login experience, just having them ask. You want them to be in there as fast as possible, maybe even without a login, and just assign a user ID to it, which Despia lets you do. So you just get them to do the payment on the paywall, and then once they paid, they can log in later. But you want to have them usually convert fast on consumer applications. Obviously not too important if you're not building a consumer application. But let's look into this here. Let's see. Did I got an email from Base44 to log in? Yes, I think something is in here. Let me just copy this real quick. And look at this beauty. It now says from email, fill it out. So it doesn't work too well filling it out from the email though. Let's paste that in here. Perfect. Let's verify the email. Okay, email verified successfully. Now I should be able to log in. hey@despia.com. Again, terrible login experience in my opinion. Should be way easier for people logging into your application, but I guess that's fine. So let's do hello, 1, 2, 3, dollar sign, dollar sign, dollar sign. Let's sign into this. Now we're being logged in to our application. How beautiful does this look? And now as we can see, safe areas kind of interestingly implemented. It didn't do that too correct because it has the safe area added in here, and then this component also has a safe area implemented, so it has double safe area on that area, which needs to be fixed. But let's authenticate. Now, as you can see, it wants native access to the native Face ID functionalities. I can allow this. It's now natively scanning my face. And as you can see, the Base44 application now says access granted because it now has access to native system level data, variables, and features just like this, thanks to Despia. So as you can see, I can try authenticating again, and you can see how the application updates and how the state of the application updates. Let's say I'm holding it to you now, so we're scanning your face, and it fails. If I try again, right, and it fails again, it'll fall back to a passcode, and if I'm entering a wrong passcode here, right, my phone is actually locked now. So as you can see, we got native functionalities going on here. My phone is locked. Look at that. I've locked for the next minute. So there you go. This is how you add native functionalities into Base44 and how you can add native features into there. Now, obviously, we need to adjust the interface. There are lots of tweaking that we need to do. I added the safe area twice. We have to reprompt this to make it look good. But in a nutshell, that's how you build a mobile application in Base44 and Despia. Now, again, I'm not saying it's an easy process. It's not an easy process. You will need to go back and forth with the AI to get it working. You need to create custom files. You need to adjust the custom prompt. You need to understand the principle and how to implement it. But if you need to use Base44, it's possible with Despia. But I do want to be honest with you. It's not going to be smooth sailing all the time. There are going to be phases where you have double safe area and you then need to, remove it and make sure it's nice. And there are going to be certain parts that you can customize, like the login with Google, that are going to be limited based just on how the platform works. And I don't think we can get login with Google working with the native login with Google because Base44 comes with its own opinionated system in how login should be handled. So if you are willing to make certain compromises on features but still need to get your Base44 application into the store, Despia and Base44 may be a good way for your MVP to be released to the App Store. But ultimately, when you want the most flexibility, you have to use other tools and custom implementations such as Lovable, Cursor, Bolt, whatever. You can still use Despia. Despia is very flexible. It supports native OAuth. And if you take a look at the application and the documentation, you'll find documentation on how to implement native OAuth in there. I don't think, though, you're going to have the flexibility to set it up correctly or the way it needs to be correctly set up to work with the native system level APIs and SDKs in Base44 when it comes to login with Google, login with Microsoft and Facebook to use the native SDKs for those. And the native in-app browser SDK and the Safari view controller. It will probably work well on Google if you add app links in there, but with Safari and Apple, generally, it's going to be a little bit more complex where you need to bring in more native SDKs, and we do have support for them, but I doubt that you're going to implement it well with Base44 because their backend and their login system is kind of locked down. You can't really tweak it. Right? And you would need to tweak your login system if the user agent includes Despia just by a little bit, like by a few lines of code to get it working with the native social login on iOS. But I doubt that they let you do that. So this is just a limitation that you need to be aware of. So there are going to be certain things that you can't do because you're using Base44. But if you're fine with that, I think Base44 is a good solution to get an MVP out there, and Despia is here to help you. So this is just an informational video. Take the information that serves you from this, but everybody who's telling you it's so simple, just grab your Base44 application with our tool, they're probably not being completely transparent with you. I want to be transparent with you so you know the position that you're in, and there are going to be certain things that are not easily possible. And you have to make the decision ultimately yourself. But thank you so much for watching. It is possible. I wanted to show you that it is possible. And see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.